I was a human, well, sort of. The closest thing I can compare this to would be a human form. I had the body, shape, and size of a human, but some of my body's characteristics were not human. My hair, for instance, was different. I had a full head of beautiful, silky, long hair that never seemed to tangle, even in the most humid heat. The neat thing about my hair was that it took on the colors of what my eyes set their sights on. It didn't change color instantaneously. It was more of a gradual change over the course of a few minutes. When a color change was occurring, which was always, it was sort of like seeing a dry cloth soak up water. It was a wonderful trait to have. It was a trait of beauty, and also served as an item of protection and camouflage. It was interesting because even after sleeping for hours, even if you had dreamed of places and things, your hair was black when you woke up because that was what your eyes had seen while asleep. Darkness. My skin was another beautiful part of this body. Unlike humans, who are prone to acne, rashes from illness, irritants in our environments, bumps from bug bites, allergic reactions, and signs of aging, my skin didn't do that. The skin was similar in that there were the same shades of skin in this world as in the world that we know to be Earth, but the skin that this body had was more resilient. It simply didn't show signs of aging or was not easily susceptible to elements in the air or illness. It was strong, smooth skin from birth to death. Even if you were at the end of your life, you never looked old, as people do on Earth, because of their strong, healthy skin and the fact that the color of their hair was what you set your eyes on. You needed strong and resilient skin in this world. It was a tropical, warm climate, and the skin protected the body from heat, water loss, the sun, and kept the temperature of the body and organs cool during the day and warm at night. It also protected the body from parasites and the environment. There weren't any more bugs in this world than on Earth, but the bugs on this planet were stronger and generally lived longer because there wasn't much of a climate change. The skin protected the body from everything that a tropical climate had going for it. If I were injured, for example, by getting a cut or puncture to my skin, which rarely happened, but when it did, I would bleed like my human body. The difference is that this body would let out as much blood as it needed to in order to fill the wound, and the blood would dry and scab quicker to seal the wound, which in turn would heal faster than a human body. You were not invincible. For injuries that were more serious, you would still need medical assistance, just like the bodies on Earth. But the healing process in this world was much quicker since the body's tissue was stronger. Like humans, we could swim. This body, just like humans, was rather slow-moving in the water. But this body was a little better suited, because in between the fingers and toes, there was a small web of skin to aid in propelling yourself through the water. The webbed skin ended at the first knuckles. I was also able to hold my breath a little longer in this body, so diving and swimming underwater was more of a breeze to do. I could hold my breath for a few minutes at a time. This world was like Earth, but the temperature and climate of this world were more balanced. Snow and ice didn't exist. There was only a tropical humid climate as well as a dry, hot climate and variations in between. The world was, for the most part, beautiful, lush with forests and vegetation, and the air was full of the sweet smells of beautiful flowers and life. The oceans, lakes, and streams were fresh and clean. Unlike Earth, its civilization took on more of a natural state of living. The elements of light, wind, and water were used to power its cities. The use of coal or gas to power machines simply never came into the minds of this civilization because coal and fossil fuels were never discovered. Civilization in this world was intelligent, and even though they had more advanced ways of powering cities, they held a very similar relation to that of a medieval world that existed on Earth. More people held trades for jobs, for the most part, selling food, clothing, tools, you name it, even though the option was there to work for companies. The majority specialized in a product or a trade to make money or to simply barter and trade with others. There was no reason for someone to be poor unless they chose to do nothing, and if someone was physically incapable of working, families and communities came together and cared for loved ones that could not manage on their own. People were generally closer, and there was a better sense of community because society was more in line for people to go out into the world and create their own wealth, which meant really getting to know who was in your community. This world sounds perfect, right? Well, an element exists on this world, as it does with Earth, and that is greed. The populations, or cities as you will, always had a leader appointed, a king, queen, and royal family. They could be voted into or out of power, as its people and the power of wealth saw fit. At times, there could be corruption from who was leading. These leaders were committed to the success of their kingdoms and their people. These leaders were level-headed, informed, and smart individuals who thrived on the success of their people and the success of themselves. Like I said, it does sound like a strong and well-grounded society, and for the most part it was because they cared for the general well-being of others. But do keep in mind that their drive and motivation stemmed from other factors, and they would do what it took to make sure that they were successful. In this previous life, I came from an area of the world that was tropical, humid, and next to a beautiful ocean that had a massive reef. I was born into a family that was successful. I had a mother, Nafisa, and two older sisters, Ashlia and Saidira. However, I never knew my father. I never asked my mom about him or my sisters. I believe that my sisters and I all had different fathers. I suspect that it was always a short relationship, and they shared a moment with my mom, and that was all. My mother didn't talk about them because to her, they were part of her past, and that was it. I believe she felt that we, my sisters and I, were gifts. For the most part, we earned our living by gathering food and supplies, as well as creating crafts. Our supplies came mostly from the ocean. Gathering was something that my sisters and I loved to do. We would visit the ocean, spending the day diving in the reef and harvesting food and other items for our family to use. We also traded and sold things that weren't so readily available to others. I loved this life and everything about that world, but it wasn't always so simple. I have a story to tell.